to this expert talk number 12. And this time we focus on how to become and stay an attractive employer in 2023. I'm very happy to host this webinar today, and I will introduce myself and our speaker of today, Ellen van Dieren. Here you see the program. So we have an introduction by me, then we do an interactive session together with Ellen, and a wrap-up and a Q&A. So if you have questions, don't hesitate to use the chat and the Q&A, and at 11 o'clock we will close. Now here you see me, myself, Marjan Stoijt, and Ellen van Dieren. Now we'll start with introducing myself. I'm Marjan Stoijt, Commercial Manager of Untouchables, and finding new clients and sales opportunities and representing Untouchables, the international recruitment partner for internationals, for global oriented clients, is something I enjoy already for 20 years plus. Untouchables recruitment agency is already 26 years plus and specialized in the recruitment for multilinguals of internationals who are looking for a job in the Netherlands. It's for me a great honor to work with many different globally focused companies who are open for multilingual talent. The topic of today is very much a topic I see on the agenda of many companies we work with. As a recruitment agency, we notice a very big demand of talented candidates after the pandemic. We also notice that there's been a shift in the workforce and that there's been a big scarcity in finding employees. The market changed from an employer market to a candidate market. When you are able to find the right personnel, it's important to keep them on board, and it's important to show your good employership, good werkgeverschap. But that's something Ellen can tell you more about, how to implement good employership via amplition, but she will explain more about that. Hello, Ellen. Ellen van Dieren from Talent College. Maybe you can introduce yourself.
Hey, good morning, everyone. I see that some participants, it's going really increasing, so that's really nice. So good morning, everyone. Today I'm gonna do this expert talk, and I want to introduce myself with some slides with the presentation. So I think it's the right time. It's 10:03, so let's start with the presentation. And if you have any questions, just like Marjan said, you can get them in the Q&A, I think. So Marjan, you're gonna read them and gonna ask the questions, I think, at the end.
Exactly. Or in between when it's very important.
Okay, perfect. And also we have the chat. So if you have any insights you want to share, you can use the chat. So let's start. Perfect. I'm going to share my screen. So is it visible for everyone? I think.
Yeah, perfect.
Perfect. Okay, then I will open the chat so I can see if you have some questions. Let's start. Welcome. Nice to meet you all, guys. Today we're going to talk about amplition. But first of all, I think it's suitable to know what my name is. I'm Ellen van Dieren. I'm the owner of Talent College. In Dutch we say Talent College. And every day I speak and train about the positive organizational psychology. Just a different word in English. Talent College, what we do, the company that brings your organization a new way of working and thinking. So we're going to talk about amplition. Also what the title says, how to become an attractive employer, and not only how to become, but also how to stay an attractive employer. It's really important in the labor market that we're in. When we talk about, if we talk about your role as an employer, I think it's important that you know that as an employer, you're not responsible for the happiness of your people. But what is our role? We are responsible for their well-being. And it's important that we can create the best possible working condition. With this in your mind, we're going to look at your role. And also, if we talk about happiness at work, it's something that's really, really important in this time. There are 3 elements of happiness. Normally, I will ask you in the chat to share something, but Marjan, I think we don't use the chat at all. Oh, it's open.
It's open. Yeah.
Okay. I want to ask you, what are the 3 elements of happiness? So you can share in the chat, what do you think is important to have a longer state of happiness? That not only a happy emotion, so feeling happy, but what are the 3 elements that are important for your state of happiness for the long term? Some of it is 50%, 40%, and 10%. Kelly, nice to meet you. The feeling that you're contributing to something meaningful. Yes, that's important. Personal development, your own authority, purpose. Nicole, thank you for sharing. A good team, development, opportunities, recognition, getting responsibilities, being able to create impact, growth, development. Nice to read all of these things. If we look at the 3 elements, it's based genetic. So some people are genetically more happy, more positive. Some people are more negative. There's some of our own behavior that's important, 40%. And what we say is environment. And also these numbers, I think it's really important to recognize these numbers, because 40% is the own behavior of our people. So when we talk about ownership, it's really important. And we talk about the good employership, attractive employer, it's about 10%, it's only the environment. So the living environment, life environment, working environment, but also things as a salary, it's all in the 10%. When we know this, it's also interesting to look a little bit further. And then I want to introduce you to the VUCA world. VUCA world, it's American, it's a term that comes from America. In Holland, we say VUCA wereld. And it's important to recognize that we live in a world, also the VUCA world describes it, that everything you need to know in order to understand the today's changing world. So we're going to talk about cultural changes that you see. We're going to talk about company lifetime disruption, technical innovation that gets really increasing, the industrial revolution. So there's a lot of things going on. We see that changing labor market, changing environments, changing employee needs. So people are thinking different, people want to work different, and what is our role as an employer? So we live in a world that is constantly changing. We live in a world that is becoming more unstable, and it's more unpredictable. So if you introduce the VUCA world, we also see that it's 4 words. You see that complex, ambiguity, uncertainty, and it's volatile. I think it's really nice to look at this visual, and I'm curious, what do you recognize? What do you recognize in your organization? So you see how well can I, how much do you know about the situation? So we see that things are not very logical anymore. What happens today? But normally we can plan maybe our business model about 5 or 10 years, but I don't know what's happening about a half year, about a year. And constantly we have to experiment, we have to innovate to be that attractive employer. In the VUCA world, when we look at this, it's also important that the VUCA world has a really large influence on work and on people needs. So I want to take a look at my next sheet, and what you see and we called is the cyclicization of work. So we have traditional and we have more modern. We're going to talk about job content, about work relations, about conditions, about terms of employment. And my question to you is, what do you recognize? Is your organization more traditional Or is your organization more a modern type of company? If you want to share something in the chat, feel free. What we also see that we are in a big transition. So normally things are really stable at work. We have fast permanentship, but now we're going to see that's a lot about change. People want to work at the place independent of time and place. We're going to see that job crafting is very important, more self-control. But this kind of modern way of working asks very about the mental and emotional states of your people. So if you're going to take a look at your role as an employer, it's really important that you create the working conditions, and we're going to play a role in the well-being of our people. So maybe this one, we're also going to share the slides that you see today. Marjan, we're going to share it. And maybe it's also nice within your company to talk about this. Not only on management level, but also with your employees. What are their needs? What's important in their life? So the traditional and the more modern way. And that's also, if we take a look further, and we're going to see the needs. And this is Maslow. We all saw it sometimes, I think, during our study. But in this time, it's really important that you see that the needs of the needs of employees are changing. And if we know that things are changing, then it's also interesting what's your role as an employer and what are the factors that you're giving. So the basic factors are below this pyramid. So we see that salary, people feeling safe, working conditions and benefits, it's all really low in this pyramid. And when people, just looking at the right Dutch, English words, when people feeling some safety and security, and the physiological needs are within, then they're going to increase in the pyramid. And that's also important. If we look at your role as an employer, it's about learning and development. It's about creating a good work-life balance and helping your employees with that. It's creating a nice working atmosphere and also recognition and appreciation. Appreciation, also the things that you mentioned in the chat before. People feeling inderdaad a recognition, people getting responsible, being able to create impact, growth, development, everything you see like all in above, like self-actualization, creativity, self-esteem. So get in contact with your people and recognize their needs. I think that's really important in this state of labor market that we're in. If we look at these changing needs, as we look at this VUCA world we're living in, we're also going to change that it's the right time to get a new way of working. And that's why I want to introduce amplition. If you look at amplition, it comes from the Latin word amplio, and it means to enlarge. It means to increase. So at its visual, it's a Dutch visual, but I think you can get the hang of it. We're going to talk about creation, we're going to talk about prevention, and we're going to talk about amplition. When we talk about creation, and a lot of organizations, is this a standard way of working? When there is a problem, when there is a lot of problems, we want to solve the problem. So creation is to recover. Then we also think about, and when we talk about good employeeship, we want to make the step to a little more prevention. So if you talk to prevention, what's the most important? To avoid risk. To avoid risk that will lead to sick leave. And we talk about amplition. We're going to focus on the whole human capital of organization. So when we talk about amplition, it's important that we enlarge what is going well, that we focus on things that are successful. So you don't have to be sick to become better. I think that's a really important step when we talk about amplition. And we're going to look at what kind of intervention there are, and everything we do in order of good employership, we're going to focus on that positive work-related well-being. So we're going to enlarge, we're going to increase the well-being of our people. Not only people that are in sick leave, or not only people that are not happy anymore at work, but everything. We're going to focus on the whole human capital of your organization. It's important to know that amplition isn't another trend, or it isn't another theme on your agenda. Amplition is a way of working. And look at the theme as happiness at work. I think it's really important, and there's 3 ways I'm going to work at increasing the happiness at work: curation, prevention, amplition. When I want to increase the happiness at work from the point of view curation, I want to recover what makes unhappy. So I want to take it away, I want to subduct. When I do it from prevention, we're going to prevent what makes unhappy. So we're going to avoid the risk. When I do it from the way of working from amplition, we're going to look at what is everything, what's the state of happiness, what gives energy, what is successful, what is going well, and how to enlarge what makes happy. So we're going to drive the energy in the whole organization. And it's really important that we do it as a co-creation, that we do it together with our people. So the bottom up, so asking your colleagues, asking your employees what their needs are, asking what that's important in their lives, and then we're going to think what kind of role I want to play as an employer in the needs of my people. Are there any questions, Marjan?
No questions in the chat.
Oh,
no.
Perfect. Then we're going to continue. So happiness at work, but also when we talk about vitality, vitality at work, also we're going to do it as curation, prevention, and amplition. There's 3 types, 3 ways of working, and amplition is looking more ahead. Just what I said. It isn't a trend, it's a way of working. It's also interesting to know more about our development philosophy. You can see here some numbers that are with the bad smiley, some numbers that are more happy. When we look at our KPIs in an organization, or if we look at our goals in an organization, maybe you recognize this. If you're looking at your HR role, and a lot of you, I think, are in HR, maybe you recognize this. What's important? We're going to prevent burnouts. We're going to solve this dissatisfaction. We're going to reduce the numbers of sick leave. We're going to prevent resignation. But it's also interesting when we look more at the numbers that are on the positive side. So your sick leave number is maybe 6%. We're going to do a lot, and what can I reach? I can reach the 0. I can reach the neutral position. But I want to grow. I want to increase. I want to focus on driving my human capital. Then it's interesting that your organization goals also have a different point of view. Maybe it's more important to increase the energy in your organization. It's important to increase customer satisfaction, but also employee satisfaction. It's important to increase the energy. So not focus on all the things that we have to solve, not only focus on recovering and prevention, but focus on things to thrive, to enlarge, to increase. That's what the way of amplition is. When we look at amplition and the way of working, I think it's really important that we know that it's a co-creation. And my goal of amplition, so what we do from Talent College, we inspire, we have some learning and development, and also we advise organizations at this point of view. And I think it's really important that your goal has to be that you be a people-oriented organization. So I would like to come to work with you, but also want to continue working with you.
Okay. There's one question in the chat. Would you like it now?
Yes, okay.
Would it be the role of HR to do both?
What do you mean? Can you?
It's, I think, the slide before.
Yes.
To ask the, oh, yeah.
Both. I think this one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Of course, like you make the transition from focusing on the 6% and you're focusing on the happiness. So if somebody's asking, wouldn't it be the role of HR to do both?
Of course, it would be both.
Yeah.
And also think very important that the 3 ways of working, curation, prevention, amplition, they always work together. So of course, it's important to do to solve your problems. To solve maybe if your sick leave numbers are really high, it's really important to solve that problem with the people that are in sick leave or the absence numbers that you have. But it's also interesting to shift your focus. So I think it's a role of both.
Yes, I think too.
Okay.
Thank you. Yes.
That's nice. If you look at this one, it's important about amplition, so the co-creation, and we want to become an employer of choice. People would love to work at your place, and because you know what their needs are, and you're creating the best working conditions, and you have some things that will increase their well-being. If you look at amplition, we created this amplition models, and within vitality, within happiness at work, within engagements, it's important that to fill in these 4 pillars of amplition. I also have some. It's the Dutch variation that you see, but you also see the English words. And every intervention that you create together with your people. So I'm not really a fan of buying some total vitality program. I think it's really important to to come in contact with your people and create together your program of vitality.
Okay. Yeah.
So if you look at the 4 pillars, we're going to talk about health. And health is for us, it's about movement of your people. It's about nutrition. It's about food. It's about relaxation, energy management. Is there enough time to also recover from some stressful situation that we all recognize? We're also going to talk about talent management. If we look at talent management, that's also about job crafting. It's about to learn to know your talents. Maybe you can give some assessments at your employees. It's about more autonomy about working. And bevlogenheid, I think it's the best way, engagements. We're going to look at the energy at work. We're going to look at relations, co-creations, when we thrive together. And it's about our working environment. And this pillar, it's a combination between HR and a facility. So are we creating a working environment that is suitable for people, but also our HR tools? Is it possible that people are, that there's space for some job crafting? That we're going to look within a company that we can use our talents at the place that most need it. So the 4 pillars of amplition, that's our way of working. That's also the way of working that we're giving in our learning and development track that you have.
Yeah.
I see a question. I also have the Q&A open, so Mian, I think that's a little bit easier. Could you elaborate on the difference between job crafting and creating a detailed job description? The difference. I think it's also important, the point of view. Are you a company that is really into the detailed job description? So this is my point of view, the way I can work. These are my tasks. This is what I have to have on my resume. So we're really strict about it. when we talk about job crafting, it's really nice that an employee can use their talents also maybe within a different afdeling, a different
scope, department.
yeah, different scope. It's also it's about working on new projects within your organization. Not only the familiar tasks that are in your detailed job description, but also looking more abroad. So it's about using the talents in the whole organization and not only on your detailed job description. That's what job crafting is. It's also about talent management. Do people know what their talent is, and can they use their talent on different projects within the organization? If we do that, then people we really focus on the human capital, and we're are open for learning. We're open for development.
Great. Yeah.
If you look at the intervention focused on amplition, our goal is to achieve positive work-related well-being. If you look at amplition more practical, it could be really simple. If I ask every day to my colleagues, to my employees, what do you need and what can we do to facilitate and motivate you? That is, in my point of view, the role that you have as an employer. And of course, not every day you can ask it, but it's important to ask it more several than we used to. Also, during it's not only on a fixed time that we ask this question, not only when we have our performance review, but also during the day, also during the months, during the weeks, during the year. It's a different focus on your human capital. So it's a simple question. What do you need? And what can we do to facilitate and to motivate you? That's the role that you have when we talk about amplition. Amplition is also shifting your focus. So shifting your focus on things that are going well, shifting your focus on things that are successfully, shifting the focus on the whole broad talents of your human capital. And it hasn't been really difficult because amplition is shifting your focus and it's a new way of communication. And I want to share some examples with you. Are you an organization that's more problem-orientated, or do you know that's important to shift your orientation to growth? Another format, if you look at your numbers of absence, the numbers of sick leave, then we're going to write an absent policy. From a amplition point of view, we're going to write a health policy. So we're not going to focus on decrease our absent numbers, but we're going to focus to increase the way of health from all my people, the whole human capital of my organization. So it's a shift. It's not only a different name for your policy, that's the first step in the right way, but also shifting your focus. And when you work at your health policy, there I know more people in your organization who want to think about it, to give their input about what is the right health policy. And I'm gonna discuss with my people when we talk about our vitality program, we're gonna do it together. And maybe we have someone that's working at the reception or customer care or at IT that's also a personal trainer in his own time. Then it's really a good way that he also within your vitality program let this personal trainer also have a role. So we're going to combine not only the talents and the passion that they have in their free time, but also that have in their working environment. Nice. Another example. I also is your HR cycles, your HR dialogue, is it really focused on performance review, the more standard, Or do you know that it's really important to have that conscious dialogue with your people? It's not only looking at performance, but also looking how can I appreciate them. And not on the fixed time, but during the whole year. So it's a conscious dialogue that is important from a Christian point of view. Some simple things when we look at my agenda. When I see a work meeting, in Dutch, werkoverleg. When I see a lot of working meetings in my agenda, it doesn't give me any positive energy. Within Talent College, with our team, what we have are success updates. So when we talk with each other, it is a small update. It's about 30 minutes and we focus on things that are going well, things that are successfully, things that are positive. So we're going to start with a little success. Every update, every meeting we have, 5 minutes, what's your success of the day? And sometimes successes that I brought my children on time on school. And it's perfect that I also are on time in my first meeting. Sometimes that's the situation that's in, and that's my success at that moment. So it's interesting also the things that you set in your agenda. Also look at a positive way of communicating. Not only the standard werkoverleg, but also a short success updates.
And did you see Yuri's question in the Q&A? Or would you like to wait for it? He's asking how, do you have any insight on how to measure enthusiasm and energy?
Oh, I'm going to save that at the end. I think that's
later. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, perfect. Thanks. I want to see another example. Do we talk about stress management or do we talk about energy management? A lot of time we get a question, do you want to give a training? Do you want to give a session about stress management? My answer is no. Because I don't believe that stress management is really awful, because we know when we have a little bit of stress, I'm gonna thrive without my comfort zone. Away from my comfort zone, if I do things that are a little bit stressful, it's also a moment for growth. So stress isn't always negative if I have enough moments to recover, if I have enough moments to create a balance and more, I think, a more relaxation. So stress management, we're going to talk about energy management. Also within your organization, do you focus on workload or do you focus on work energy? The workload can be high in some teams, but it's also interesting. There's always some energy. There's always something that drives your people. And it's our goal to look at that points of energy. We're not saying that workload isn't important, the high workload, and we also subduct that, but we're going to do it from a different point of view. And that's also this question. Maybe you can visualize the working stress, it's high, and you're going to sit with your team. And what will happen if you ask the first question? How can a high workload within your organization be reduced? When I ask this question, I get a lot of negative energy. So they're going to mention all the reasons that the workload is high. This isn't going well, this is creating high workload. But when they're in that bed in your brain, we don't have to, we're far away from creativity, from solving things. When I ask the second question that you see on the screen, what do you need to be able to do your work with more energy? The same group, the same amount of workload, but with a different question, I get different answers. And I get more answers and more solutions and more creativity and more changes to make a step with our team. I want to see the 9 success factors of amplition. When you say, now, amplition, I think it's important. I also want to make a step ahead of amplition. So curation, prevention, amplition. The 3 ways of working are always there. If you want to step ahead of amplition, so focus on your human capital, then it's important that you have support from management. That we have a culture, an organizational culture that is focused on development, that we try to experiment, that we are open for innovation. Trust is really important. Inspiring your people. It's not only thinking about sharing knowledge, but also inspire. And that's what appreciate inquiry, appreciate perspective is. What's your current situation and what's our dream situation? It's about bottom-up work. So not only top-down, not only what management think it's important for our people, that they feel all the working conditions and all the job description really detailed, but it's also about in combination, in co-creation with your people. It's an open way of communication. It's a conscious process. It's not only at this moment, not once of 2 times a year. We're going to look at dissatisfaction or satisfaction of our people. It's not only once or 2 a year that we're going to look at our performance of our people, but it's a conscious process. And what we do from Talent College, it's also about amplition experts. We call it Amplitiedeskundige. And we have a training that HR people, they really get to know this way of working. And if you look at our role as the Amplitiedeskundige, amplition expert, our way of working, it's about appreciate inquiry. It's about transformational leadership. You all know that leadership is really important to create an organization, to create good employership, to have a team that is thriving. And it's important to fill in the 4 pillars. It's about health, it's about engagement, it's about creating a work environment that drives people, and it's also about talent management. So this is the way of working that we're learning in our training, in our education as Amplitiedeskundige. I think I've a lot of sharing my slides, so that's important. And I want to know that amplition is a way of working, it's a way of thinking, and it's ensure your organization a way to growth and to progress. So focus on your human capital. It's the next step for enlarging your company success. About the questions, I'm going to look at you. Do you have any insight on how to measure enthusiasm and energy? That's a really interesting question. The first question back at you is, why do you want to measure it? That's really a point of view that we're having from the basics of a human. We also management want to measure things, but do you also believe that focus on the human capital, maybe I don't have to measure enthusiasm, maybe I don't have to measure energy, because I feel it in my organization. And amplition is a way of working and thinking that will start by tomorrow. It will start by tomorrow if you ask that simple question. How do you feel? What can I do for you? And what do you need? What can I do to stimulate and facilitate your way of working so you can thrive, so you enlarge more way of working and happiness? Are there any other questions or things you want to share? You can do in the chat or maybe in the Q&A. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Marjan, do you have any questions, or maybe other people have some insights to share?
I don't see any new questions, but it's indeed what Yuri says as well. How do you then, in the end of the year, measure or make an end result in the progress of an employer? I can understand that it's this new way of thinking is very good, but it's also like you need some tools to sort of make sure that everybody is stays happy, and how, yeah, I can understand your question, you know what I mean, but you can explain it a bit better.
Yeah, I also understand the question, but my
Yeah.
first point of view is what's the reason? And I think that question back at management is really important. What's the reason we want to measure? Because the reason we want to measure is to control. And if we want to control our people, I think if we look at the more modern way of working,
Yeah.
it's important to create self-control. But if we look at the type of measuring, of course, the number of sick leave, of course, the number of resignation of your people, that are numbers. I don't say you don't have to measure them, but also look at the other side about engagement, about energy. And there are some insight, there are some tools that also you can ask what the energy level is. So I think it's important, the tools that are creating energy level, of measuring energy levels, are mostly about asking the question. How's your energy level at this moment? Do you feel positive? Do you feel engaged? So morally, it's a way of asking, and there's also tools to measure. It's more clear.
Yeah, it's good. I wanted to continue the discussion a bit about that, because I can imagine if you make the transition in this new way of thinking, working,
Yes.
then it's good to keep focusing on just asking the question and make sure that everybody is working in their strength and giving the energy naturally.
Yeah.
There's a new question, I think.
No, you're saying clear. Thanks. So
Any more questions, people? Because you can ask Ellen now.
And if there are not any questions anymore, it's also nice to see your insights in the chat. What kind of insights do you get from this this point of view, this new way of working? Maybe the more traditional, maybe the more modern. Think about the intervention. Think about your working conditions. Is it top down or is it bottom up? I think that's really important. How good do you know your people? Do you really ask what are your needs, what's important for you, and what's our role as an employer? So maybe some insights is also nice to read. And what's your biggest insight, Marjan?
That it's a new way of thinking, and that it's good to look at the positive things rather than solving the negative parts. For me, it's also important that if you have a vitality program, that you not pulling a dead horse, but that everybody's giving their own ideas about how to be vital. And if you're going to say to somebody, eat an apple every day, it's not working. You need to, they need to think of things themselves. Like your example with the receptionist is very good.
Yeah, I think it's creating ownership. It's creating ownership for your people to make the right choice. So if we look at canteens and good food, as an employee, I can take all the junk food and take all the bad stuff away, but then people are gonna walk to the next shop and gonna buy the things they want. So it's not about taking all the bad stuff and the junk food away. It's about creating awareness. It's about creating awareness about healthy food. It's about nudging, about priming, about framing the healthy food in your canteen. So people will make in their own decision, the 40% at the beginning, their own behavior, the ownership about taking some food that's really good and healthy. Yeah. In the chat, it should not only be the responsible of HR, but a collective effort for the employees and empty thoughts to change management process necessary. Yeah, that's really nice insight. If you look at amplition, it's a thing way of working from everybody within your organization. So also what is said about ownership, it's not only HR, it's also management direction, it's about leadership, and it's also about the way of working and thinking of your own employees. Nice. If there are not any question, I think it's time
and
to...
it's and also your sheet about the modern part. I think it's very important to think about how can I make sure that my people can join their fertility ideas. So if I would like to swim in the morning for an hour and start a bit later, but I still, my energy and output is that good that it will fit my job, that's for many companies still a new process in the day. It's not between 9 and 5:30.
Yeah.
And it sounds so simple, but it's new culture, it's new DNA.
Yeah, it's really new culture, a new way of working together. And I think it's really important about trust. Do you trust your people? Do you give them the space? Do you give the space for working on your own energy management? And it's also about emailing, for example. Maybe some people would love to work in the evening. In the evening, they have the most productive hours, but what do you about emailing? Do you text each other in the evening about work? Are you sending your emails in the evening? As an employer, some employers are forbidden to email in the evening. I think it's about ownership. It's about co-creation with your own team. It's about co-creation with your own people to discuss that kind of things. So what is our relation together and what's our way of working together? So I don't believe in forbidden some kind of stuffs, but we can stimulate the work-life balance.
Yeah.
Charlotte, do you have examples of organization you work with after you changed to amplition? What they must was it less staff turnover? Some examples I also really show. It's about creating a new way of writing a policy. So not focusing on your absence policy, but we're gonna create a health policy. And when we create a health policy, it's only shifting your focus. And we're gonna see that when we work on amplition, on to drive your people or to drive the energy in your organization, that also the number of productivity, decrease of numbers of sick leave. So we see within organization that is in the Netherlands, a snowball effect. It's about creating an effect that have the positive effects on your KPIs, on your numbers.
Yeah.
How many organizations did you assist with this? How's the concept adopted? Type of organization? Yes, it's about, maybe it's also nice to see the book that we write. It's about werken aan amplitie. It's a Dutch one. A lot of things we do in Dutch. And the organization that we are working, the most important thing is that our learning and development traject that we have to Amplitiedeskundige, the amplition experts. It's about the number. I think at this moment there's also a lot of trajects. What we do is coaching on the job. So it's development, learning and development, and coaching on the job. At this moment, there are 70 amplition experts in Holland. So it's about 70, and the type of organization, small. It's really the big corporates, the big companies. It's in the, hoe moet je zeggen? Ik moest heel even. In het Nederlands, als je zegt, zeg maar. Nou, ik ben het denk ik kwijt.
The bigger companies, the
different
sectors.
Also, yeah, it's I don't know the word. Oh, not
in Dutch. In Dutch.
Nee, wacht, ik zit wel te denken. Profit and non-profit. That sort of thing.
Yeah, profit and non-profit.
Yeah. So it's all kind of organization, different types of organization.
It's all about letting go and trust. And if you have a certain job description, you keep tied to it, and people cannot do anything outside of the box. That's less energy. I think that's energy can be given when they do things they like extra, and you will get some more surprises within your company. Like, hey, this person is very good in this and this.
Yeah.
But you need to be open for that as a company and not follow the strict lines of a job description. But that's
no.
Not that companies still do that. But it's in general, if it's slightly like that, you need to fully let go.
Yeah, that's a way of together to innovate. It's time for do some experiments together, because nobody knows what's working in your organization.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit of try and error, but you have to take that chance, I think. I see, Charlotte, do you have an example in organization work? Yeah. What kind of things would you include in a vitality program? The most important things is that it's not my decision what I want to include.
Yeah.
It's important to ask your colleagues. It's important to ask all your employees, what do you want to include in a vitality program? So it's not, from my point of view, it's not from the point of view of HR, not only management, not only leadership. I think it's most important, as we talk in this vitality program, it's a co-creation with your employees. And I think that's a really big step ahead, because a lot of organizations create that vitality of they buy an external vitality program, and then they think, oh, why doesn't my colleagues, or why does my employees are enthusiasm about this vitality program? It's about, we don't do the right things. We don't offer the right things.
Yeah, people need to come up with that themselves. Otherwise, you never do it. And it's the same. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a really, really important thing. It's about, it's about the co-creation with
self-initiatives. Yeah, like walking groups, or the people invent, or
yeah, but maybe my people want to walk, maybe they want to run, maybe they want to
cycle.
swim, I don't know. Or maybe they need more relaxation, or maybe they need more information about getting a good night of sleep. So it's not for me to fill it in. It's not for me to create a very a broad scope of a vitality program. It's doing the right things. Do we at all have a choice to be traditional in order to stay attractive? The current employee market is requiring a more modern approach, and adoption is key. Yeah. Great. Yeah. The current employee market, it's so we can think, oh, we're gonna stay really traditional. This is our way of working. This is our benefits. This is our way of leadership. But the needs of employees, the needs of people, and that's also about that VUCA world where we live in. I think it's important to also after this session read something about it. It's important that you know that we live in a world that is constantly changing.
Yeah.
So it's constantly changing. It's becoming more unstable, the whole world we're living, and it's more unpredictable. So what we did in the past doesn't give any guarantees for what will work in the future. So this trial and error is really important with your own people.
Yeah.
Nice. I think it's time to wrap up.
I think
really nice.
No more questions, right? Yeah. And I really like that everybody joined their questions and joined this webinar. Ellen, you want to round it up?
I think it's the last sentence about Jacques. That's sharing in the chat. I think that says all. It's a current employee market is requiring a more modern approach, and adoption is key. And that's why Amplition, this way of working, this way of looking more at the things that are going well, the things that are going successful, and more the positive side of people and the needs that they have. I hope it inspires you. And if you want to learn more about, you can connect me on LinkedIn, or after this session, I'm always able to answer your question.
Liz, there's another chat.
Yeah, the same philosophy, way of working is applied at sport training. Yeah, in the Netherlands as well. It works, but only work well with other supports, guidance, profit, techniques, training plan. It is also energy management. Energy management, it's from it's from sports. It's really
Yeah.
from sports training. So
That-
you have the right balance between work, life. So nice.
Yeah. And that's a new role as a manager as well, to be a coach and look at
it's
those things
a
together instead
new
of
way
just
of leadership.
Yeah.
It's facilitating, stimulating, motivating, and coaching your own people. I think that's more important in this market we live in. Yeah.
I think too.
Okay.
That was
Nice.
the last chat. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Then thank you everybody, and it was really inspiring, and I hope it was inspiring for everybody, and that you will work on this. And otherwise, like Ellen said, you can always email her and read more about it. Somebody said, thanks, you're very insightful. Thank you very much. And I wish you a very happy, nice, energetic day.
More
And,
happiness at work.
Exactly. And Ellen, thank you so much. And we keep in contact with everybody, and have a nice afternoon and weekend.
Yes. Thanks a lot. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.